What's up, guys? Matty here, mixandmastermysong.com. Today we're going to go over a new plugin from the company Tone Projects. The plugin is called Unisum. It is a mastering compressor, and it quite possibly could be the best mastering compressor plugin there is out there. This thing is amazing. It has now become a staple on my mix bus chain, and we're going to get into it and check it out. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's go. Alright guys, so here is the plugin. It has a lot of knobs. Now it is a stereo compressor, as you can see. So everything on the right is the same as the left, and you can link it here or unlink it if you want to have variances in settings. I like to keep it linked. You have different modes, left and right, which is standard stereo or mid-side, and then a bunch of different quality levels here. Now starting here, we'll just kind of go through really quick. You guys will know what a lot of this stuff is, but Sidechain High-Pass is just exactly what that is. If you wanted to trigger the bass less, you can bring this up, so anything 200 and below won't be triggered by the compressor. This is interesting and very useful. It's Sidechain Emphasis. Now what that does is if you wanted to push the mid-range a bit more, which is something I like to do sometimes, you can put it at 3K and it will push the 3K area a bit more than the other, almost doing kind of like a upside down bell, if you will, there, which is very useful for certain things. If you have a song where it's a little too edgy, you can go 3K, 6K, and it will start pushing that down a little bit more than maybe the low end or the top. This relax knob is interesting. It's linear versus lax, I guess they call it. Basically, to me, it's linear is more of like a real compressor. Lax gives a little more air, a little more openness. It's cool that you can get a mix between the two. I find myself, if it's pushing a little too hard in the mix, I can pull this back to lax a bit, and it gives it some air, lets it breathe some more. Really helpful. Knee, hard knee, soft knee kind of stuff. Relative curve is gradually from linear to logarithmic difference of the curve. It can make some different sounds as well. I haven't played with that too much. I tend to be using this relax quite a bit. Here, your basic threshold, ratio, attack, release. Hige is transformer sound, so this is a very clean compressor. With this, it gives it kind of a transformer and slight saturation. It's rather slight, but does give it a little more depth. I'm usually keeping that on while I'm mixing. You can solo mid-side if you're doing this, or left-right. Dry, wet, which is super helpful. So, you can hit it hard and then mix it back a bit, and then your output gain right here. So that's the basis of the basic settings here, right? And then this is link. So if you want, to have it link halfway, kind of like the 2500 does, you can do how much it's going to link the left or right channels. Now, where it starts to get crazy is when you hit this edit style. Now you have a whole set of multi-band detectors here. You can pick the frequencies you want to detect. It does the speed of the RMS or peak, so you can kind of make it use either the RMS to compress or the peak. A weight. Now what the weight does is if say it's hitting the bass too much, you can bring this down a bit and it won't hit the lower frequencies as much. The rest of the stuff you can just kind of go through. And read the manual because it gets kind of dialed in, and I haven't been using it that much because I don't necessarily need it. Although this Transient Override is actually pretty cool. If it's hitting your transients too much, you can back it off a bit, or if you wanted to attack the transients a little more, you can turn it up, and I've been using that quite a bit as well. So like I said, the rest of the stuff, I think it's best for you just to go through the manual, check it out. I want to get into how I've been using it because that's kind of more important to me than a tutorial on all the different buttons. Now this part here is where the bread and butter is for me. So by choosing these different presets, it changes what's going on down here. And this is where you can really get some different sounds with this compressor. And why I love this is if I'm doing a hip hop record or a pop record, I usually want a FET compressor, and it gives me that kind of sound right here, fast detector and the dual stage envelopes. Or if I'm doing a warmer song, I might want an opto, or a Varimute compressor. So this is kind of a Muse sound, warm vibe and bouncy groove. And then opto is kind of maybe sometimes in between. I don't use optos that much on mastering, but program dependent attack release time, it can sound good sometimes. Also, you have these other ones, open, which really sounds open. I like this setting a lot. Energetic, aggressive, exaggerate low frequency detector, and rough attack release curve. So they all have such different sounds that you can get to really quickly just by using these styles. And that's why I said I don't use all these different knobs here that much, although I am working on playing around more with the multiband detector, but it's just taking time. There's a lot to dive into with this compressor. So, you know, it's going to take time to learn. I've been using it for a couple weeks, and I'm still working on, you know, finding out what's best, but it is amazing, and I have actually put it into my template on my mastering compressor. So, without further ado, let's start listening to some stuff, and I'll show you what this thing can do. Okay, so you can see I can click here and you can get the different gain reduction levels, which is nice. If you want to dial in, you're just doing a dB or two, it's great. We're going to hit it hard just so you guys can kind of hear what this thing's doing. But as you can hear, compressor kicked in, sounds pretty good. Now, one cool thing, this gain reduction limit, which I use a lot, allows you, if you want to hit it that hard, you can, but if I don't want it to take off more than 2 dB, I can bring this down to 2 and I love that setting. Reason being is a lot of times when you get a mix going, you get your, I usually tend to set my master bus stuff up early on. Now, what can happen is more stuff comes in, you get stuff louder, it starts compressing more, and then you'll be sitting there mixing and you'll be like, wow, man, this thing sounds good, but it just feels like a little too tight. And that's because your compressor's probably hitting 4 dB at that point. This thing allows you to keep pushing, but it won't compress more than a couple of dB, which is a lot of time not what you want. On a mastering compressor, you don't want it to be hitting a lot. So super useful having that. I've been using that a lot. I've been starting off with this, oh shoot, I don't have my presets here. I've been starting off with this one called California, but we'll start off right here with the Unisum default. So, you know, we're hitting this really quick, quite a bit right now. Now, check it out. I'm going to move this relax so you can hear what this relax is doing. What I was telling you about opening it up, check it out as I play it. It's pretty cool. Now you can hear it does back off the compressor a bit, but wow, does it open it up. And it's really a useful tool if you have like everything dialed in perfectly and you want to just let it breathe a little more, you can dial that up and it helps a lot. Now let's check out the Sidechain Emphasis, because this is another helpful tool. Let's bring this back to about middle. So you can hear it pushed a little bit more in those frequencies when I switched it. Hopefully if you have headphones, you can hear it. Super, super useful when mixing to use that. Next, I want to show you just some of these different styles, because this is where you can really get things started. And what I've been doing is going with these and then switching, you know, detailing things as we go. So check it out. You can really hear the difference between some of these. that's amazing. And I hope you heard the difference between all that. The way you can get such different sounding compressors in one plugin, and it just sounds so rich and 3D and perfect, is amazing. Really, really dig this compressor. Now, let's just try that. Now, let's back off our threshold a bit, right? Because we're just smashing it right now. Let's do it where some way we'd actually maybe use this. I like a pretty slow ratio, and we'll do like 2-3 dB and then try to switch some of these, and then you'll still hear the difference. Right now, when we switched to the Varimu from the Fast FET, it was too pumpy and it sounded crazy. But let's try it on a normal circumstances where you'll be using. Okay, so that's kind of where I usually start off in that general area. Let's turn off this emphasis. And now I'm going to switch these so you can kind of hear the difference with just regular compression, but being able to switch that in the middle of a mix is priceless. So there you have it. Pretty impressive compressor. Definitely a go-to for me from now on. You guys should check it out. Like I said, it's a deep dive. I still have to get through all the attack and release modifier section. So, I mean, still a lot of work for me even to do with this thing, and I've had it for a couple weeks. So definitely demo it and check it out. But like I said, I've been using it on my master compressor now. I was using the 33609 a lot of times. Or the Ozone. Now I'm still using a little bit of the Ozone, but not hitting it as hard, and this going before it. And it just, man, this thing like can really give you different flavors for different styles of songs. Especially for me, I'm always mixing a lot of hip hop records, and then I have like a slow ballad next. So being able to switch that fast with the same compressor and hear what it's going to do to a different song is pretty special. So shout outs to Tone Projects for making this. Really good job, guys. If you got any comments below, leave them there. If you need your song mixed and mastered, hit me up at mixandmastermysong.com. Later.